Steve Jobs is directed by Danny Boyle and stars Michael Fassbender as Steve Jobs himself, the creator of Apple. The script was written by Aaron Sorkin, who's considered by many to be one of the greatest screenwriters of our time. He wrote The Social Network, A Few Good Men. He created the TV show The Newsroom. The guy's a genius in regards to writing. And this is the very definition of a 3-act movie. We go from 3 different time periods, 1984, 1988, and 1998, right before 3 major product launches for Apple. And we get to see the behind the scenes of how all of this took place right before he goes out in front of the crowd to announce his new product. But the main focus of this movie are those hectic and adrenaline-fueled moments right before he announces his new product. And I found this movie to be extremely interesting. Now, there's 2 different types of moviegoers. There's the moviegoers who just want to be entertained, who want to see big explosions and want to see people get punched in the face. Steve Jobs does not jump off of the podium and start fighting with Ultron. Steve Jobs doesn't run away from a big car chase that's happening. This is an entirely dialogue-driven movie. So the other moviegoer who just wants to see a smart film and isn't as concerned about whether or not there's a lot of action will probably really enjoy Steve Jobs just as I did, because I found this movie to be extremely well acted and, of course, very well written. Aaron Sorkin has yet to write anything bad. He's a fantastic writer of dialogue, and there are so many great moments in this movie that allow these actors to shine and that allow Danny Boyle to pull back a little bit, because in the past I've always kind of thought that his movies were a little bit too outrageous from time to time. He lets himself be seen a little bit too much in his movies for my taste. I think he's a very good director, and I've liked a lot of his movies like 127 Hours, but sometimes he lets his style be more noticeable than the story. With Steve Jobs, he pulled back considerably and made a very straightforward movie, and one of my favorite choices that he made in this film, or whoever made it, was the first act in 1984 is filmed in 16mm film. As time progresses to 1988, the second act, that sequence was filmed with 35mm, and finally the 1998 sequence was shot on digital. So it gives the movie a real tangible feel of technological progression, and I thought that was one of his best choices. But I can personally easily see how anyone would go to this movie and go, my god, that was boring, I was bored out of my mind. You might go to this movie and just see a whole bunch of dialogue scenes and think, what happened in that movie? Nothing really happened, which I can totally understand. This is not a movie for everybody, but if you find yourself enjoying dialogue-driven movies, performance-driven movies, movies that are 100% focused on these characters who are actually real-life people, then you'll probably love Steve Jobs, because I found it a fascinating tale, and it's by far the best Steve Jobs movie we've ever had, which I guess isn't saying a whole lot. We've had Pirates of Silicon Valley, which isn't bad, and then Jobs with Ashton Kutcher, which is kind of a joke at this point. The movie's emotional core comes from Steve's hardship with his family life. A woman and a daughter, and he's not 100% sure if it is his daughter, and so there's a lot of arguments that ensue over these 3 main segments, and I thought it was handled beautifully. I really enjoyed Steve Jobs. Seth Rogen was also really good as Steve Wozniak, the co-creator of Apple. The movie paints Steve Jobs as kind of an asshole, but a lovable asshole, but not quite a lovable asshole. Like, you watch and you're like, man, dude, that's cold. But then when you see behind the curtain of the way he acts, and as the film progresses and the character gets older and more mature, you start to understand why he is acting that way. And I think they did a great job of capturing that. I'm going to give Steve Jobs an A-. As a dialogue-driven film, the dialogue is fantastic. It has excellent performances from Fassbender and Kate Winslet and Jeff Daniels, and Seth Rogen gives one of the best performances of his career, and Danny Boyle did pull back a little bit, which was nice. Also, just as a reminder, my promotion with Audible.com is still going on. These guys have been amazing, and I want to thank them for continuing to sponsor my videos. It's been a big help to me, and it's cool to give something back to you guys. And what that is if you go to audible.com/Chris, I can get you a free audiobook download of your choice. Anything on their site, absolutely free. My gift to you guys, audible.com/Chris. Thanks to Audible, and thanks to you guys for continuing to use that service. So I would recommend seeing Steve Jobs if you feel it's the type of movie you'd want to see, but if you're looking for something that's just more like action driven, this is definitely not your movie, but you probably already knew that anyway. Guys, thank you so much as always for watching, and if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.